So, good afternoon. This is Danielle. I'm with the PAMA Foundation, and we are celebrating Black Business Month. August is Black Business Month, and it is my pleasure to introduce one of our local Black businesses, Armetrice Photography, and Miss Armetrice Cabine. Armetrice, will you just take a little bit of time and introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Armetrice Cabine, and I am the owner and the photographer for Armetrice Photography, located in Cherokee County in Woodstock, Georgia.
All right. Thank you so much. And please go and check out her website. It is beautiful, as are her photographs. So we are here to kind of talk about Black business this month and how it impacts our community. So, Armetrice, if it's okay with you, I'll just go ahead and we'll get right into the questions. And I know that you did get the questions ahead of time, so we should be ready to go. So our first question has to do with your journey. And everyone has a different story and a different journey that they took or are taking, excuse me, to get to where they want to be as far as a business owner. So our first question is, what inspired you to start your business? And can you share some key moments from your entrepreneurial journey that have shaped your business today?
Sure. So I started photography when I was about 14 years old. But of course, growing up disadvantaged, I'll say, never even considered it as a career. And so I went to school to be an electrical engineer.
Wow.
Got a degree in electrical engineering and got my MBA. And I worked for 32 years as an engineer in the telecommunications industry.
Wow.
And how the photography, so I kind of gave up photography once I went off to college. I really focused on my studies.
Mm-hmm.
So once I graduated and started traveling, of course, I started taking pictures again and was really enjoying it and wanted to photo. My niece was pregnant with her daughter at the time, my oldest niece, and I wanted to photograph her daughter. And I loved the Ann Geddes
Oh, yes.
newborn photography.
Right.
Yeah, so I came across the Georgia Professional Photographers Association, and they had a convention coming up, and they had a photographer coming in who was called the Baby Whisperer. So I thought, oh, it's a great opportunity for me to get into, to learn a little bit about baby photography. And I show up, and it was way over my head. I mean,
Oh,
they
wow.
were way out of my I was definitely a hobbyist, just doing a little travel photography, and they came in with light meters and expo discs and soft boxes and equipment that I had never heard of and had never seen. And so I thought, okay, well, a little bit more than I asked for, but I learned some things about posing and things like that. And so while I was there, I met a bunch of great people who were members of the Georgia Professional Photographers Association. And they were encouraging me to get what's called certified in photography, which I'd never heard of. And so in my pursuit to get better, because I always tell people that I was trying to figure out why my travel photography didn't look like Nat Geo, right? I'm taking pictures, I'm like,
right.
well, yeah, what's missing? I'm missing something. And so I thought maybe this certification class will help me to get what I'm missing, and I can just be a better photographer for myself. Because I wanted to take pictures I could display in my home when I traveled instead of, because when I traveled, I would buy artwork from my home from different countries. And I thought, why not create your own?
Oh, I love it.
And so as I looked into the certification process, it required, I took the class with no intention of becoming certified, just take the class and figure out what I'm missing. And at the end of the class, on the third day, you get to take the certification exam. And it's an exam of 100 questions. So took the class, took the exam, and I passed the exam.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, well, gee, since you're halfway there, you might as well finish this process, right? Because I never do any, I never do anything just halfway. So
Right,
it's like,
right.
let's finish the process. So part of that process was I needed to submit a portfolio of 15 images. And
Wow.
out of the 15 images, 9 of them needed to be clients.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so the gentleman that taught the class, I said, hey, I'm just a hobbyist. I don't have clients. I only photograph for myself. And he said, oh, call your friends and family and charge them $1. As long as they're paying you, they
Okay.
are a client.
Okay.
So I started calling up friends and family and said, hey, can you come in and let me photograph you? And so they came in, I did a lot of headshots, trying to master lighting and posing and all of those things so that I could pass the certification process. Well, by the time I got to the end of the process, I was like, well, you've purchased, at that time I purchased light meters, all the things that I had seen several years ago at the Georgia Professional Photographers Convention, I
Right.
now understood how they worked.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, you've got all this equipment. You might as well start, go ahead and put it out there that you do headshots, and start charging people. And that way, you can help pay for the equipment and pay for some of the new equipment that you want, new lenses that I might want, any new camera
Absolutely.
gear that I might want, and things like that. And so that's kind of how the business started. I started for doing headshots,
Oh, wow.
after, and I did get certified. So I'm a certified professional photographer at this point in time. But that is how the business started, just wanting to get better travel photography and to photograph my niece's new baby. And
I
so,
love that. I love that because not many of us, think about taking our passions, right, and turning them into something that would be helpful to others because you are helping others, right? But at the same
yeah,
time, you're taking your passion. You took, um, the road that I think a lot of us take, where we say, okay, I like to do this, but how am I going to make a living? Like, how am I going to pay my bills, put food on the table, so on and so forth. And so we may do something that we may, we look at the skills that we have and we may do something that we say, okay, this will work for that. And then I'll just do this over here on the side, but you ended up taking your passions and because you wanted to do it and do it in excellence, which is what I love about the story. Um, you wanted to do it in excellence, not for anyone else, just for you. And because of that, you ended up doing just exactly what you were supposed to do. And I don't know, I'm going to encourage everyone to just go out to your website because the pictures that you have, the photographs that you have out there are absolutely gorgeous. And so I know that, it's amazing to me that you just took a class and then you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this over here so I can get a few tools of the trade and I'll be able to have a more excellent photo and capture things a little bit better. And that has turned into this blossoming business for you. So hats off to you. I appreciate that.
thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you.
all right. So our next question is, what unique challenges have you faced? And you touched on it a little bit, but as a Black business owner, me included, there are some unique challenges for us. How have you navigated those challenges to help you achieve your success?
So it's, like most of us were taught when we were young, is that you've got to be twice as good to get half as much when you're African American. And so as I started this business, the certification process became extremely important to me,
Mhm.
because that would show people that I had a certain level of expertise. When I did not want to start this business and be a, you know, quote unquote mom with a camera. One of those
Right.
people that goes out, buys an expensive camera and hangs out a shingle, and now I'm in business. I did not want to be that person. So the certification process was important to me. Surrounding myself with a community of like-minded individuals who would encourage me to succeed. So the Georgia Professional Photographers Association was instrumental in that. And also the Multicultural Association of Professional Photographers were instrumental in that. And both of those organizations fall up under the Professional Photographers of America umbrella.
Okay.
And so for me, the challenge has always been to make sure that I am seen as legitimate and an expert in my field. So the certification was just a small part of it. I recently received the craftsman degree from the Professional Photographers of America, and that's a degree that you get for giving back and for teaching others
Oh,
in
nice.
the industry, so that they can improve as well. So I've taught it. You have to teach a certain number of classes, and you have to also do service work with them to obtain that degree. So that was important. And then just even in my community, there are so many photographers
Right.
out here. And so it became, how do you differentiate yourself?
Right.
And this goes back to even just when I was in college. When I got my college degree, and I don't want to date myself, but back then it was okay just to have a high school diploma and you could go to
Right.
work for General Motors and get a great job.
Right.
So a college degree wasn't even a requirement to get a good job back then.
Right.
But I went and got the college degree. And then once I got the college degree, I said, okay, if a high school diploma is the norm right now, at some point, a bachelor's degree is going to be the norm. So how do you differentiate yourself from everybody that has a bachelor's degree? And that's why I went ahead and got my master's degree, because I didn't want to at some point be part of the norm. I always wanted to have a way of separating myself from the crowd. And
Absolutely.
so that's what I do with photography. I'm always looking at, how do you differentiate yourself from the other 20 photographers in your area? Certification was one way, getting my craftsman degree was another a way of doing that. And just really always working to make sure that I'm improving my craft and that I'm always earning certifications and recognition that separates me from the crowd. So those are some of my challenges. I'm also a member of the Cherokee County Chamber. So one of the challenges is that I'm not a Georgia girl, right? I'm born and raised in Michigan, spent most of my life in Michigan. And I moved here to Georgia, and you meet a lot of people who are native to the area, have been here for years. Everybody knows them. So it's like, okay, how do I get people to know me, to appreciate what I bring to the table? And so the Cherokee County Chamber has been really instrumental in getting me out into the community, getting my name out into the community, people knowing who I am and knowing what I bring to the table. So those have been some of the things that I've tried to me, those have been some of the bigger challenges. So I'm just always trying to make sure that I stand above the crowd and that I can be the best I can be the best photographer that I can be out here, as I
Absolutely.
compete with others.
I love that. I love that because it's so true that, we always have to do, it seems like we have to do twice as much to get as far as the next person being African American. But I love the fact that again, this is just a testament to you operating in excellence, getting your certifications, getting your designations, getting your degrees to ensure that, especially, in the area that we live here in Cherokee County, where there are a lot of people that have grassroots, here. And
Yeah.
so, in your business, just as it in our business, it's a relationship business. It's
Yes.
about knowing people. It's about getting those people to trust you. And so you've done all of the things to do that. And so I really appreciate that about you. I appreciate the fact that you go above and beyond where you need to, in order to distinguish yourself from every other person in your field, because that way they'll say, okay, she's taking time to do this, and to do this. Where this photographer over here is just, And not that there's anything wrong with having a relationship-based business. That's where we all start, right? But you've
Right.
gone above and beyond to make sure that you excel in your business, that you excel in your field. And so I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. All right, our next question is, how does your business contribute to the local Black community? And what role do you see Black-owned business playing in fostering economic growth and empowerment for our future generations?
So one of the things I do is I give back and I gave back even before I was a photographer. So I try to give back with my business. And one organization that I support is Students Without Mothers.
Mm,
So every year they award scholarships to students who have lost their parents. Well, that's their mom. So sometimes it may be a single dad raising his child. It may be a grandmother raising the children because the daughter has passed away. It may be an aunt. It may even be, sometimes it's even siblings who have stepped up to raise younger siblings when the mother has passed away. And so it's a really great organization. And I photograph for them usually at least twice a year. They have their scholarship luncheon, and then they do an event that's called Chastain for Charity, where they it's like a Chastain night out with live entertainment, and you can come in
nice.
and purchase a table. Yeah, so I photograph for them, and that's a as a sponsor in name. You know, it doesn't cost them anything. And it's run by a woman by the name of Mary Torrance, and Mary, you know, she looks like us. So I do try to support her organization. And then I try to give, I also try to take and give back to other organizations. If someone approaches me, it's hard because, it's interesting because I did a mentoring session with the Atlanta Hawks for a while. And one of the things that came up, which was one of my questions, was I'm always being asked to give. And they are too, being an organization. I said, how do you guys determine how much you're going to give, who you're going to give to, and those type of things? And they said, look at your core values of what's important to you, and
Mm,
then say, okay, these are the types of organizations that when they approach me for support, that I'm willing to say, okay, yes, I'll give. And for me, it has always been young people,
right.
children, because I've always had the belief that children don't get to choose their circumstances. They are put into circumstances that they have no control over. And so, given an opportunity to give back, I like to give back to organizations that support children that need that support because they, like I said, they are not responsible for their circumstances. And so, Students Without Mothers, for me, falls into that category. Um, so that's one way that I try to give back in the community. Other things that I do is just one day I hope to be able to hire, to have my business large enough to hire. Right now, I hire on an occasional basis. I do school photography, so I have some schools that I photograph for. And I will hire an assistant to try to,
Oh, I
generate some
love that.
income for some.
Yeah.
Yeah, and bring them in to make a little bit of money. And then I also mentor. So there are other photographers out here who look like me, who are trying to get into this business and trying to understand. They shouldn't have to go through they shouldn't have to try to figure out everything that I may have had to figure out. And I've had mentors along the way to, help me through some of those hurdles and roadblocks and things like that. So I do try to mentor and give back in the community as well. And being on the chamber, I support small businesses in Cherokee County. I go to ribbon cuttings, I go to networking events. On my website, well, not my website, in my newsletter, on occasion, I'll feature a local business. Recently, we opened up a new chicken salad chick in the area, and I
Yes.
had an opportunity to, yeah, I love chicken salad chick.
Yeah, yeah.
I did some photographs for them. My photographs are actually hanging in the new restaurant, and so I featured
Nice.
them in my newsletter. Very similar to what you're doing here right now, featuring other businesses. So it's not a Black-owned business per se, but it was an opportunity to at least feature a local business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. So thank you so very much for that wonderful, wonderful answer. It really is a great segue into our next question, which really has to do with support and mentorship. Have you had mentors and you did allude to that earlier, or receive support from other Black business owners or organizations? And if so, how have these relationships influenced your business?
Okay. So yes, I have definitely had mentors. Like I mentioned, it started with my first mentor in Georgia Professional Photographers Association, and that mentor was not African American, but he is one of my he was my not my first photography mentor, but probably my most influential one. And he continues to mentor me today. So even when I picked up my first school, I called him up and I said, "Hey, Eric, I've got my first school that I'm going to be photographing, and I have no clue what I'm doing." So he said, "Don't worry, I got you." He said, "I'm going to come up. We're going to photograph it together. We're going to do a great job." And he did. And he said, "We're going to make sure that you knock it out of the park so that they love you." And so he has always been a strong supporter of mine, and one of my biggest cheerleaders. He follows me to see how I'm progressing, and love the guy. So as far as mentors of color go, one of my mentors is a guy named Sean Lee. He's out of Detroit. Sean actually started the Multicultural Association of Professional Photographers.
Nice.
And Sean, yeah. And when the first time I met Sean, I was at a conference that they were having, and he offered the conference for free to photographers of color, because he said a lot of times we just don't have the money when we're starting a business to attend these conferences. So I thought it was great that he did that. And when we went to the conference, one of the questions that came up was how many photographers in the room were certified.
Mm,
At that time, I was not certified, but I had passed the exam. So no one raised their hand for being certified. And so the next question, so I said, well, I'm halfway there. I said,
right.
I've completed the exam, but I have not submitted my portfolio. And I think I was the only person in the room at that time that had gotten to that point. So fast forward about a couple of years later, when he actually started the organization. This was a conference. They hadn't kicked off the Multicultural Association of Professional Photographers yet. 2 years later, he would start that organization up under PPA. And PPA sponsored Professional Photographers of America. They actually were a big sponsor of his conference, but he didn't have what's known as an affiliate at that time.
Right. Right.
And they've since changed the name. They're no longer called affiliates, but I can't remember the new name offhand of what they're called, but he hadn't started that. So when he started his affiliate, him and his partner came to me and they said, "Armetrice, we want to elevate the expectations of what's required of photographers of color. We
Okay.
want them to elevate their skill sets. We want them to understand the PPA standards and to try to work to meet those standards."
Mhm.
And they said, "Would you lead education for us?"
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I said, and let's go back in time a little bit, right? When I was in, before I went off to college, I always thought I would be a school teacher. That was always
Okay.
my
All right.
goal. And my family talked me out of it, but that's another story for another day. But my family was just adamant that I pursue other options based on my intellectual capacity.
I'm with you.
Um, so 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 when he approached me, I said, "Well, let's talk about it. Let's see what it looks like, what your expectations are, and if it's something that I feel I can do." And so after talking with him, I said, "Okay, I'll take that task on." And talking about mentors, so one of the first people I reached out to was my mentor, Eric. And I said, "Hey, I've got this group of photographers, they're photographers of color. Will you come and speak to them?" He said, "Absolutely." Because Eric had been in the business for years. He's photographed for the High Museum of Art. He's photographed for the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. So he's been around and he knows this business. So he came and spoke to the organization. And I brought in a lot of photographers who were not necessarily photographers of color to mentor to talk to my photographers of color about the 12 we have a competition every year called the International Photographic Competition.
Mhm.
And there's 12 elements that your photograph needs to meet to be a part of that competition. So I had a photographer come in and talk about that. One of the things Professional Photographers of America offers are merits, right? So if you can get your images, you can enter your images in for merits, and after you get so many merits, you earn a degree. So I mentioned previously that I have a craftsman degree. Well, I never would have gotten that degree had I not been asked to lead education by Sean Lee, right? Because I had no intention of getting a craftsman degree. I had no intention of teaching other photographers because I was learning myself. So it wasn't even
Right.
on my mind to teach anyone else. I'm still in learning mode at that point. And so by me stepping up and agreeing to do that, when we didn't have a speaker, the first time I couldn't get a speaker to come on. So I said, okay, I'm going to put together this panel of individuals who support MAP. We were all working on our certification by photographers now who were working on their certification as well. After it had been brought up at one of the meetings. So I got three of us together and we formed a panel, and the discussion was, you can ask us anything about photography. So we have photographers asking questions such as, I photograph a concert, it's low light. How do I photograph it? You know, what should I be thinking about? Why am I struggling, you know, with my photographs in low light? So we talked about lens selection. We talked about what their camera settings should have been and all of those things. We had questions as simple as, what is a merit? Several of those photographers who were at that workshop had merits with Professional Photographers of America and did not know it. So something
Wow.
as simple as showing them how to log into their account and create a merit report so that they could see that, oh, gee, I got a merit because I went to Imaging USA. So to let them know that, hey, you can begin working towards earning degrees because quiet as it's kept, you have some merits toward a degree with Professional Photographers of America. So that's how I got my first teaching merit, was when we led that panel. So once I got my first teaching merit, I thought, oh, do I want to go after a craftsman degree or don't I? So then I taught another class with them on creating a marketing calendar. And then I'm a techie, so I wanted to roll out a class with Professional Photographers of America on how to create a free WordPress website.
Oh,
So I
nice.
tested the class on the Multicultural Association of Professional Photographers. I taught it for them first, because my thing was, I have all these young photographers over here. They're getting started in the business. They don't have websites. They need an online presence, but they're not making a lot of money yet. So how do we get them an online presence without it costing them anything? And WordPress offers a free website. So I taught them how to set up a free WordPress website so that they would have an online presence. And so then I wrote that class out with Professional Photographers of America after that and started earning merits through them, some additional merits towards my teaching, for teaching, I should say,
Right.
just
Right.
for teaching, which got me the craftsman degree. So to me, mentoring, also I am a member of the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs down in Atlanta. It was started by the son of Herman Russell, and Herman
Mhm.
Russell did a lot of construction in the Atlanta area. A lot of people know him. So I'm a member of the Russell Center, and the Russell Center paired me with mentors as well. What I liked about the Russell Center was that they paired me with mentors who were not photographers and who were not in the photography industry. So these are people who think a little bit outside the box. And so they gave me tips on things like how about acquiring customers, different things might want to consider in my marketing
Right.
that photographers may not be thinking of, So so to me, mentoring is extremely important. And it's not only important to have a mentor, to me, it's also important to be a mentor. So I
Right.
do try to mentor other photographers as well. And I also the Professional Photographers of Association used to have a program called the CPP liaison, right? Once I got my certification, I could be a CPP liaison, where if anyone else was working on their certification, they could reach out to me and contact me, ask me questions, get advice. They could send their images over to me and ask me to critique their images. So I have helped a few photographers out there to actually get their certification because they've sent images to me to say, hey, I've got this one image that just won't pass. What am I doing wrong with it? What's going on with it? And I've been able to look at that image and say, hey, here's what I see that you might want to try to correct. And they have to go back and fix the image themselves, figure it out, but at least they can come to me for advice. So unfortunately, that program is no more, but I do still get individuals who will reach out to me and ask me questions who are trying to get certified. So that's long story short about mentoring. I definitely am a big fan of it and definitely support it.
I love that. I love, and something that you said that I believe is key is having mentors outside of your field. I think that that's so important because business is all encompassing. And a lot of times, especially, like I'm in real estate, you're in photography, we focus on the task at hand, whatever that may be. Whereas when you get mentors and you have mentorship outside of your particular field, they will look out, they will look outside of the box and help you to look outside of the box so that you can begin to approach your business in a different way. That's why, being a member of the chamber, networking, attending conferences, all of these things are really, really vital so that you can begin to not only teach, but also to be taught. I think that as business owners, we should be just anyone should be a lifelong learner, in my opinion. I think that,
I agree.
As you live and as you experience and as you develop and as you grow, absolutely pour into someone else. But at the same time, there should always be someone pouring into you as well. So I love the fact that you have, a plethora of mentors as well as you mentoring yourself. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I
All
definitely
right.
agree
And
with you.
our final and our last question. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been great. It's about vision in the future. And that question is, what are your goals for the future of your business? And how do you plan to continue making an impact both on the broader business landscape and within the African American community?
So I struggle with this a lot. So I thought this was an interesting question when I saw it because I worked in telecommunications for 32 years and I retired. And when I retired, I started building my business prior to retirement, so that I would have something to do in retirement. And then when I retired in 2020, I took the business full time. It was a part-time business up until that point. And so since 2020, I've been putting a lot of energy into just trying to grow the business. But then I have these moments where I get to, like this summer, I went on a 5-week road trip with my niece and we visited several national parks. And I have an RV, so we took the RV out and just really had a great little road trip. And so sometimes I look and I say, you could just be retired, and not have to worry about building a business and generating new clients, trying to pull in income and all of this stuff. So I still struggle with that a lot as to how big do I want to get.
Mhm,
I see the upside potential of this business, and I know that I could get a lot bigger than I am.
mhm.
But I know that the amount of work that that's going to take, and that's going to put me back into, a 40 to 60 hour per week type of environment. And I feel like I did my 32 years in that type of an environment so that I could have this time in my life to enjoy.
Right.
So right now, I'm still growing, but not sure what that's going to look like in 5 years. I may
Right.
not be here in 5 years.
Right.
um,
Right.
Maybe out somewhere at a campsite, just enjoying nature. But no matter what the future looks like for my business, because like I said, I am still growing it at this point.
Right.
Still working on growing it. And one of the things I'm trying to grow right now is my senior business. I have a pretty good school business. I think I wouldn't mind picking up a couple of more schools, but not sure how many, because the thing with school photography, it all has to happen within a very short window,
Right.
because, and so because all schools start about the same time. And so you've got to get those pictures in before the Christmas holiday. So from about September to the end of October
Mhm.
is when you're doing picture days, retake days, and all of those things.
Right.
So to put more schools within that small 2-month window, I have the capacity to add a few more, but I don't want to add so many that the quality of service I provide deteriorates.
Right.
So the school business I see maybe growing just slightly. My headshot business, I would love to grow that to the point of where I'm doing conferences, where if there's a major conference in town, an organization may contact me and say, hey, we're going to set up a booth and we want you to do free headshots we're going to pay you to come in and offer headshots at that booth in the name of our company.
I love it.
So it wouldn't be branded for me. It might be branded for any large corporation out there. I don't want to throw out any Fortune
Right. Right.
500 company that's out there. I'll put it like that. The booth would be branded up under them, but I would be doing the photographs and delivering those photographs. I have that capacity today, that the ability to deliver instant headshots.
Mm.
And I would love to take that business to a whole nother level where people can come to a booth, take a headshot, and by the time they're walking away, they're looking at their phone and the headshots are on their phones.
Love it.
I have the ability to do that. I did it for a company actually yesterday. I photographed their executives. And by the time I was photographing the second executive, the administrative assistant was already looking at the photos for the first executive that I photographed and picking out the two that she wanted edited for their website.
Great.
But I definitely would love to grow the headshot side of my business. The other side of the business that I'm exploring growing is my high school seniors as
Mhm.
well. Right now, the schools that I photographed, I have high school seniors in those schools, and I'm trying to figure out how to maximize the business that I do with those seniors, how to, increase the revenue with my high school seniors that I have today, and then also to get high school seniors outside of my schools. Right now, there's a large company that will not be named that has a contract in the Cherokee County area, and they do just about all of the senior portraits. Your child is required to go to that
Oh,
organization,
wow.
get
So
their
they're
senior
pretty
picture
much a
done for the
monopoly
year.
then.
Well, I wouldn't call them a monopoly, but they have most of the public schools. They don't have the
Gotcha.
private
The
schools.
private.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, they don't, yeah, they don't have that, they don't do as many private schools, but they definitely have a pretty good lock on the public schools. The
Wow.
kids can go wherever they want for their senior pictures, but they have to get that yearbook picture done with this company.
Mhm.
Well, as a parent, if I've got to take you over here to get a picture done for the yearbook, 9 times out of 10, we're busy. You're in school
Right.
sports, you're in other activities. So I'm just going to go ahead and let them do your senior pictures. Even though sometimes the parents aren't always happy with those pictures, the kids aren't always necessarily happy with the pictures, but sometimes it's the convenience
It's
that
the
plays
convenience
a
of it.
role in that. Yeah, so trying to figure out how much I want to grow this senior business and how much of a fight, do I want to
Take on.
how much of a battle would it be for me to try to
Right.
really break into it and do a great job at it? So so that's something I'm looking at too. And you asked about how that would impact the community. As I grow, there will be opportunities for me to hire. So this summer I hired a summer intern that worked for me to do some data entry type work. And so it was really good to be able to do that. But I would love to be able to, like I said, bring on someone and be able to pay them a living wage,
Right.
where they can support a family,
Right.
you know. But like I said, I struggle with that because in order for me to get that big, that means that I'm back into working a 40 to 80-hour week myself.
Right.
So trying to find some balance, but I really would love to be able to hire in this community and be able to provide a living wage for someone if that were ever feasible.
I love
Um, and then just giving back in the sense of, just being active in the community, being able to support, charities in the community. The more my business succeeds, then the more I'm able to give back. So
right,
one year I did a partnership with, let me get this right. Gosh, it escapes me. But they deal with foster children in the area,
hmm,
and I could see the name of the business right in my face. I'm so sorry. But I did a photo shoot where I was able to make a donation to them
oh,
based
nice,
on the revenue at those photo shoots, right? So I did mini sessions, and the fee that was paid for the mini session went directly to the charity. So I would love to be able to do more things like that,
right,
you know, where I'm generating enough income to actually be able to give more money back in the community. I would love to be able to do that. When I was working full time, that was a big part of what I did, was giving back. I had money come out of my paycheck. Every paycheck
yeah,
that the community went to Atlanta Community Food Bank and went to Project Open Hand and the American Red Cross.
I love it,
And I would love to be able to have this business generate enough income to where I can continue that type of giving.
right, right. Well, Armetrice, I want to first thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to help us celebrate Black Business Month. This is the reason why Pamela wanted to do this, because there are so many businesses out there in our local community that I believe need to be highlighted for the very reasons that we've discussed today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that in the future, we will be able to collaborate on something together. PAMA Foundation and Armetrice Photography. There are so many things that we are trying to do as well. And, I love getting together with like-minded individuals, individuals that I believe operate in excellence, individuals that I believe will be a benefit to me, to my family, to my community. And you definitely have that in spades. So thank you
Thank
so, so very much for taking the time out to tell us a little bit about your business. For those of you who are listening, please take an opportunity to go to Armetrice's website, check out her work, and give her a call, give her some business, because you will not be disappointed. Armetrice, do you want to just kind of share your website, your contact information for those who may be interested?
Sure, that'd be awesome. So my website is armetrice.com. Very simple. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Armetrice. I'm also on Facebook under Cabine or Armetrice Photography. And you can reach me at area code 404. I'm sorry, I'm seeing something. Okay, I apologize. That's my mistake. You can reach me at area code 678-313-2830. That number again is 678-313-2830. And it has been a pleasure, Danielle. I've really enjoyed this interview. So thank you for reaching out and thank you for interviewing me.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll have to do it again real soon. All right, so that's it for us, everybody. We want to thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your day to learn a little bit more about Armetrice and her business. And we will be looking forward to our next interview in just about a week.